We're about to start the greatest show on earth. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. I'm Billy Hupp. I am the community organizer. This is Caitlin, Tyler, Kyle, and we've got Courtney in the back, all your community organizers. I want to ask you, if you will, to take out your phones, one over there, and then download the 1 Million Cups app so that you can share with us some feedback when you're done. You can also see who's here and you can be represented. So if you'll do that now, I appreciate it. I'm going to let the expert panel introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Matthew Marcus, and I'm with the Kansas City Startup Foundation. We are a nonprofit that is a community building organization trying to help grow and advance Kansas City's startup community. We do it through experiences. We put on a lot of events throughout the year. Connections, we connect a lot of individuals to the community and within the community. And storytelling. We have a digital publication called Startland News, which you can check out, and it tells all of the kind of innovation stories happening in Kansas City. And while I've got the mic, I want to tell you about an event we've got coming up on May 22nd. You'll probably see it pop up on the board there. It is our next innovation exchange taking place at PlexPod, and the subject will be racial bias and how do we disrupt it as it's taking place within our startup culture. So hopefully we'll see you there.
Good morning.
Morning, Quest.
So tired. Come on, we can do way better than that. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, that makes me feel so much better. It's a lot more happy now. Hi, my name is Quest. I'm from Project United Knowledge, the local area incubator for women and underestimated individuals with creative ideas. And here to be a fun expert this morning and help out.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Alrighty, we're going, yes, let's give them a hand for being here. Yeah. They are professional people taking their time to help us. Absolutely. We're going to introduce you to Zach Blumfeld with Third Space as our first presenter.
Hello, can everyone hear me okay? All right, so I'm Zach Blumenfeld. I do a lot of different startups, co-founder of Third Space, founder of CultureCon, and CEO of Startup Lifestyle. I'm actually not from Kansas City. I'm from the beautiful city of Madison, Wisconsin. If you haven't been there, come check us out. A lot of cool things. Have the Capitol, the lakes, booming startup tech hub, most importantly, home of the Wisconsin Badgers. Go Badgers. I've been in Kansas City for about 24 hours now. It's been awesome, a lot of great people. I've eaten barbecue for every meal, and it's been fantastic. And met a lot of cool people, great startup scene here. So let's get into it. We probably all felt like this guy before, left a job at one point or another. Everyone left a job at one point or another, probably, yeah. Thinking back to why we left those jobs, we probably felt disconnected, lonely, didn't have a clear path to the future. And these feelings are actually all signs of poor culture. So the punchline with Third Space is that culture matters. Poor culture will bring your organization down. Strong culture will bring it back up. And it's more than millennial appeal or the posters on the wall or the keg of beer in the break room. It's a quantifiable metric. So if we add up things like low disengagement, low productivity, high turnover, it's a quantifiable cost to the US economy of over $750 billion each year. And if we look at companies with great culture, they always outperform their peers by over 200%. And we also see signs of increased sales, increased customer ratings, lower turnover, and higher productivity. And if we map out the confusing HR tech software landscape, there's a lot of tools that attempt to combat this issue. But we see things like performance management, communication, engagement surveys. But if these tools would have worked by now, why do we still have this $750 billion epidemic that keeps getting bigger? It's because these tools aren't designed to change culture. They're actually designed for management to push employees to be more productive. So at Third Space, we take a different approach, and we've built a people-centric software as a service where employees get to define and build the culture that they want and need to succeed. So we've done years of research on the issue of culture and really found 3 core business challenges that all bubble up to culture, and those are engagement, onboarding or career pathing, and then capturing workplace knowledge. So we built this SaaS that has core features that solve these problems. And the cool thing about Third Space is all the features work together, so no feature is siloed, and therefore we aren't just an enterprise social network or chat tool, we're an actual culture solution. So diving a little bit into our software, we have, to solve the problem of onboarding and career development, a tool called JourneyMap. And JourneyMap paints a picture of an employee's journey over time. So each tile you see here is a new task or challenge that can be self-assigned or assigned to a team member or manager. So over time, as your journey map grows, that employee grows with it. And then instead of this annual performance review, where you have to think back to what the heck you did 12 months ago, you can easily pinpoint your accomplishments to have a more informative conversation with your manager. And this also creates dialogue and feedback loops with management that a lot of times are missing in the workforce. So as we're on our journey, we want a place to go and share success, ask for feedback, so we created spaces to help with low employee connection and engagement. So typically in a company, you'll see spaces, departmental spaces like HR, sales, but then fun spaces that really give social context to the conversations that are happening. So maybe it's something like a Westworld or Game of Thrones fan club, but then also each tile back on your journey map links to a space, so you can really work with other people on those projects and communicate in the software. So we're still pretty early on our journey, but we've seen a ton of impact on our client sites in these 4 categories and just recently released a case study on that. We're focusing on small to mid-sized businesses, 1, because it's an underserved market, and 2, it's a way shorter sales cycle than going after larger enterprises right now. So there's 6 million small businesses in the country. We're focusing on about 1 million of those based on key attributes like remote employees, multiple locations, recent M&A, so merging cultures together, or maybe they have mixed generations in the workforce. We have a typical SaaS model, per user per month fee. We've seen a lot of growth over the past year. We've won awards, contests, graduated from accelerators. Since the start of this year, we have paying customers, which is awesome. We have 9 businesses on the platform, about 900 users, and about $14,000 in monthly recurring revenue. Our biggest challenge right now is we still have a very small team. It's just a couple of guys working for Third Space. So we have this lead list of about 7,000 leads that we're trying to churn through, which is nearly impossible. So we're raising a seed round right now of $750 that will give us a 12-month runway. We'll be at $100,000 in MRR after that point. So that's Third Space in a nutshell. I also spun off a nonprofit entity coming to Madison 3 weeks from today called CultureCon. So it's the first workplace culture conference. We'll have 400 people come to Madison to share about culture and engage with other culture geeks. So yeah, we have a lot going on there. I'll play a quick video here about CultureCon. So yeah, love culture. If anyone wants to come and talk about culture, I could talk your ear off for probably a day and get some barbecue too. So thanks again for having me. I really enjoyed being in Kansas City. I'm going to be here a couple more days, so happy to grab coffee or beers or whatever and just meet anyone I can in the startup world. So thank you.
All right, we are going to go ahead and turn it over to our experts.
Thank you for your presentation. It's pretty awesome. So my quick question is it more of a, write it down. Yeah, is it more of a performance review piece of software, or is it more of a piece of software to help corporations, small businesses out to improve their culture so they can attract a better workforce?
Yeah, so when we did our initial research, we found that one of the big problems, especially with millennials and Gen Z, is that you're out of school, you think you can be a manager in 6 months, which is very unrealistic, but they never have that conversation with their manager. So 6 months comes around and they're not a manager, and it's kind of like this empty promise, so they'll leave that company and go find another company where they think they can become a manager, really have that career advancement, so they just keep rotating. And it's because they don't have a clear path to the future. And if you can kind of take our journey map to give the employee the clear path to the future, but also use it to connect them to mission, vision, value, and strategy, ultimately that's going to help the culture. So it was just kind of one core business challenge that we found relating to culture and built the journey map because of that.
Welcome to Kansas City.
Thank you.
Z-Man Fry.
Getting that tonight.
Just tonight.
Yep.
What was last night?
Last night, I was at the Royals game, so no
All
barbecue,
right, that's
but
cool.
Yeah, it was good.
Sorry we couldn't pull out a victory there.
It was a fun game.
My organization's actually in a culture workshop right now. So we're a team of 6, and I think we have a pretty decent culture, but there's always room for improvement and shifting and shaping. So one of the questions that we've been talking about in the workshop is, how do you define culture? You'll talk to 10 different people and get 10 different definitions. So I'm curious to hear how you define it. And also, you spoke about how you have 9 businesses on the platform. Maybe you could tell us an example of one and the results that they've seen from using the product.
Sure. Yeah, culture is a very warm and squishy word, and we noticed that right when we started doing research. The first question we'd ask people is, what is culture to you? And literally everyone gave us a different answer. So that's why we figured out quickly we have to dive deeper and figure out what are the core business challenges that bubble up to culture. For me, like, a business is like a person, so culture is really the DNA that keeps that together. But like you said, it's always changing. Every time you onboard someone to your company, your culture is going to shift a little bit because they bring new ideas to the table. So it's something that is always evolving, especially in the startup world. It's important to think about that even when you are just 3 employees, because someday, hopefully, you will scale, and your culture needs to scale with that. And we see a lot of different companies in the news, I won't name any, but they have culture problems, and it's because they aren't able to scale their culture. Second question about the software. We've seen a lot of really cool things happen with the journey map, so giving people a clear path to the future, but also in our engagement feature. We see, because a lot of times there's this top-down command culture, but then there's also this water cooler culture that employees have, and they clash a lot of times. So with Third Space, we've actually seen them start to mesh more instead of be siloed. And I think what is really useful about our software is it gives leadership a platform to show transparency and really create trust, because ultimately trust is what creates those relationships, and that's how you're going to get your cultures, from those relationships. So we've seen some cool things. In our case study, we share a couple examples of just kind of management allowing people to bring the outside in, but also showcasing that they're human. They're not just the CEO of a company. They have a life outside of work, and I think that helps connect people with management as well.
Do you offer any type of services and/or aids outside of the software to help businesses or connect them to third-party people that can actually help them instead of just so they can use the software as best as possible?
Yeah, so when we first started out, we're like, okay, this is just going to be a SaaS play. It'll be a software, put in your credit card, you're up and running. But because culture is such a humanistic issue, that there has to be some kind of human element to that. So we're training, as we hire people on, we're calling them culture coaches. So more than just an account manager, but if I have a question and I'm a client of Third Space, I can go to my culture coach and ask them how we solve that with the software, or maybe there is some humanistic issue that we have to solve with humans instead of software. And a lot of times other clients are experiencing the same problems, so we can connect them together as well. We've also started doing consulting as well on top of the software, so it's another revenue stream for us. And then we have a channel partnership agreement anywhere from HR coaches, HR executives, insurance brokers that also sell our product to their clients. And we can use them as kind of another library that people can choose from, because they all talk to different issues. Maybe it's mindfulness or employee engagement, and we can kind of loop them in to, if a client is having a specific problem, kind of match them up with one of our channel partners to really bring in that humanistic touch.
Can you tell us a little bit about the impetus for how it got started? We spoke yesterday, and you kind of said it spun out of work that was already happening. I think the audience might be interested here as well.
Yeah, so it is a fun story. It actually started with my eye doctor back in Madison. So he connected me to my co-founder now, Scott Cole. Both had Dr. Scott Jens as our eye doctor, and Dr. Jens created an awesome company in Madison called RevEHR, and they have electronic healthcare records for eye care practices. The cool thing about Rev is that they are all virtual, still to this day. They have about 300 employees. They started probably about 20 employees when we started talking with them. And Dr. Jens had this problem where they were growing really quickly, and he wasn't going to know employee 27 like he knew employee 7. So we wanted to build some kind of software to really connect each other, but also keep their strong culture together as they continue to grow. So he connected me with Scott Cole, who was also a patient of his. And Scott had a background in gamification, so he had an awesome company called Ronin Studios, which basically gamified adult learning platforms, making those boring courses a lot more fun in the workplace. So we connected, started doing research, and after talking to about 1,000 different executives and organizations, we went back to Dr. Jens and said, hey, Scott, this problem isn't just yours, it's massive all over the workplace. How about we spin this off and try to sell it to the masses? And he was doing really well with Rev, and actually was our first angel investor, believed in us years ago, and now here we are today. So that's kind of the genesis of Third Space. And it actually started just as the Journey Map feature, but then as we rolled it out and did client testing, we figured that there's other problems we need to solve around that. So that's when the engagement feature happened as well.
Just a real quick question. Can you talk a little bit about the Journey Map? Is it to help you, I guess you mentioned that it's to help you figure out an exact career path to management or supervisor, or whatever it is that you want to do. Is that a completely separate tool that you, or is it all in one?
Yeah, so it's one cohesive software. So Spaces, Journey Map, and we're working on a third feature as well, all work together. So no feature is really siloed. Like if I have a tile here, maybe my first ring on the job here is my onboarding plan, so I can read the employee handbook, do those types of things. But as I grow, there's new skills and accomplishments I have. So my manager could assign me other tiles that help me do my job. Maybe it's goal setting. We see a lot of clients use it for SMART goals and things like that. And then as I grow, it really paints this picture, a mosaic of my journey over time. But it also allows me to bring the outside in. So if maybe we're doing a United Way campaign, we could have a tile, a challenge that goes out to the company. And you can invite, maybe it's just me and my manager, maybe it's my team or everyone in the organization. So if I'm CEO and I want to roll out some new initiative, I could do that as well on the Journey Map. And then from the management side, we can compare Journey Maps. So if I'm managing a team of 5, I could compare everyone's Journey Map together to see like where we're struggling. Or from the management level, like CEO, I can see a roll-up of my entire organization. And these are all color-coded by categories, so I can really pinpoint where things are working, where they aren't working. And then from the employee standpoint, we also are working on a team Journey Map view, so really connecting people to the strategy and mission of the organization. So if you think of this Journey Map as one tile and the team Journey Map view, it kind of clicks into this tapestry of everyone's Journey Map in an organization. So it helps show me like what I'm doing actually matters. I'm making a difference in the company. And then also the career pathing aspect. So if I'm showing leadership skills early on, my manager could put a template of a leadership track on my Journey Map. Or if I just want to move from like, I'm working at a credit union and I want to move from a teller to a lending manager, they could have some kind of template or onboarding plan for that job process as well.
We are going to go ahead and open it up to audience questions. I'm going to start with one here, right in the front.
Hi. So there's a lot of fuzziness associated with this topic. So when you sell this to someone, I assume you're selling it to companies, organizations.
Yep.
So what are the pointed statements you make to the decision makers as to why this would help them?
Sure. It really depends what size of organization we're talking to. So if it's a larger organization, most times we go to HR. That's why we try to go to small to mid-sized businesses, because we can kind of skip over HR and go right to like a CFO or CEO, maybe the owner of the company. And really a selling point, it depends what position we're talking to, but most people know how expensive turnover is. And we have a turnover calculator that we send out too, but if I can save one employee turnover event from happening with this software just by connecting them to the organization, engaging them more, it really pays for itself right there. And because culture is kind of a fuzzy definition and fuzzy topic, that's why we really dove deeper to find those core business challenges, so engagement, onboarding and career pathing, and then workplace knowledge. So we can really try to measure things like that. Like we can measure engagement, we can measure turnover, different things like that that have a quantifiable metric to it. And then also we've developed a culture assessment, so we can also assess their culture and kind of benchmark. So if a client signs on with us, they have this type of culture, and then we test them 6 or 9 months out, and we can show them how the software is helping with their culture and help shifting it in the right direction.
I have a question in the back.
Hi, nice job on your presentation. I'm curious, you talked a little bit how employees would kind of be building their own culture. What does that look like exactly?
Yeah, so it really happens all over the software. And I think it's a space for people to bring the outside in. And third space itself, we didn't create that term. First space is your personal life, second space is your work life. Historically, they've been siloed, but with technology and millennials and Gen Z entering the workforce, kind of this third space has been created. So people aren't really working 8 to 5 for a paycheck anymore. You're working for the mission of your organization. You want to feel connected to that. So the software actually lets employees kind of build that culture by bringing the outside in and really having that third space, the virtual third space. So we see a lot of examples of that in spaces. So employees can create their own spaces. And really like the way people talk, depending on what the space is titled, changes. Like if I'm in a meeting at 9 a.m. in the conference room, I'm going to talk differently than if we're having a happy hour, at the bar at 4 o'clock. And we see that happening on third space. But it also connects management and employees together, which is really cool to see that interaction happen. Because a lot of times, I've worked at larger corporations, and you get the weekly blog from the CEO, but there's no way to really interact with that. And it's like, okay, that's cool, but I want to say something. So we have spaces where CEOs and management can have a weekly blog or a weekly post, and we see a ton of interaction in the comments, and it's 2 ways. So they post it, employees respond, but then management is also chiming in, and it's a really cool conversation that's taking place, and it creates that trust and transparency.
Got another question in front?
Yeah, I kind of have a two-parter, I guess.
Sure.
I'm wondering, since so many companies, they don't really have a career path even figured out. So do you help companies, give them resources to really create really smart paths for their people? And then secondly, when they're filling out their tiles, which from an aesthetic standpoint looks so nice, but how can you, are they weighted? Somebody might fill in a bunch of really easy ones,
Yep.
but for someone who maybe hasn't filled in as many, but the ones they've done have been really intensive, or they've had a lot of responsibility, how do you help a company kind of balance that?
Yeah, so the first question, we do some consulting on that. Mostly we'd hook them up with one of our channel partners who specializes in that. Smaller companies, we've been able to basically help them utilize the journey map to help with goal planning, SMART goals, things like that. If it's more of like a robust career development plan, we'd probably bring in one of our experts. And then for the weighting of the journey map tiles, we're working on a reporting and analytical tool for management. So yeah, if it's like onboarding and I read the employee handbook versus I got promoted to manager, there's a way in our system to weight that out in the reporting aspect. And you can also sort them by achievements, so they're all categorized as well. So maybe these are kind of the onboarding, not weighted as heavy, and maybe red over there is weighted a little heavier. So you can sort those by category to show okay, let's take out all the employee handbook, signing the paperwork, that stuff, and what's really the meaty things, the meaty tiles on the journey map.
I have a question in the center.
Good morning. I had some similar questions to the one in the front, but first of all, really enjoyed the presentation, find this very intriguing, having just left organization because of the culture. And if you're hiring, by the way, I know somebody who would be amazing for you.
Let's talk afterwards.
Be a phenomenal match.
All right.
But anyway, so my question is a little bit then about, you talked a little bit to the sales process. So you have 9 companies currently, correct? I like that you're identifying your target, but tell me a little bit about how you're getting to that point of measuring that return on the investment, because it's a difficult thing. People have mentioned that. And to the question up front, I've seen doing a lot of change management in organizations. I've seen them struggle so much with knowing what they even want to be.
Yep.
So that's a barrier I see in that sales cycle. I'm curious how you're addressing that.
Yeah, so we have a partner out of Madison called Farwell Consulting, and they specialize in change management. So if we ever have a situation that is kind of above what we really specialize in, we bring them in or another channel partner, but they're really great at what they do. And so they help with that change management and that whole process. And they actually do culture consulting as well. So we can loop them in many ways. And that's just one of our channel partners that helps us out with that. What was the first question? I forgot. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so sales cycle, we have 3 different sales channels. So the first is digital, so things like AdWords, social media, Facebook, Instagram marketing. And that's really how we've gotten this massive pipeline, is people are searching culture. It's the hottest topic in business today. And so they kind of come to our landing pages, put in their email, and then we contact them for more. The other is our channel partnership. So people like insurance brokers, HR consultants, they're all out there kind of with another tool in their toolkit with ThirdSpace and selling that for us. And then direct sales as well. So pretty much everyone on our team has some sales experience. So we're out there talking to our networks and really anyone that we can get in front of to sell the product, but also get feedback and make sure we're staying close to our mission. Because most of the software, the changes that have happened have been directly feedback from our clients. So they kind of help mold the software at this point, which really is awesome for their point because they get to build the software with us. And for us, we get to pressure test it in many different industries and sizes of organizations as well.
So Zach, I'm over here with the question, and we're running right up against the time here. So
Right, I'll be quick.
We're gonna do what we can do with this question. You know, I love 1 Million Cups because it's a place to have honest conversations. We can learn from one another, and I come here to learn from you. You're in a pretty deep waters with the industry you're serving. Those of us that are there, I'm in the same industry, so I understand how deep the waters are, how rough these waters are, and one of the challenges that any entrepreneur faces, but certainly people in waters like this, is understanding how to invest in the product and get the product capable versus how to attack the market and get some real market and customer experience that will feed the product development cycles.
Yep.
Very difficult. It's clear by just looking at your screenshots, you've invested in the product. I mean, you don't just do this with a couple hours, right?
Yeah.
And if I had to guess just on the screenshots and based on the fact that you have 9 paying customers just this year, the product is ahead of the customer is probably where you're at. But in your mindset, you think, oh my gosh, there's so much more we want to do with the product.
Yeah.
I get it. So my question for you is, what can I learn from you? I need to learn from you. This is a challenge I face in terms of what you're doing to balance the desires to develop the product in this very deep water to get it almost ready to meet the challenge of the customer, but not get ahead of where the customer is currently paying you to solve their problem. What can you share with us?
Yeah, so we follow the lean startup model to a T. We rolled out our beta version back in 2016. Yeah, we shut down the internet at the conference we were rolling it out at. So it was fun, very buggy, very slow, but companies have stuck with us since then. And their feedback, we take that to make the product better. So we kind of throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks. If clients like it, we'll use it. They give us feedback, and then we roll out a new version. And yeah, we're at the point, we've had about 35 pilots to date, and now we're starting to convert those into paying customers. So it's exciting times. All our money, like I haven't taken a paycheck yet, none of the co-founders have. We just throw it back into development to make the product better. But it is kind of a nice balancing act is if you develop something, I've seen companies go under because they spend millions of dollars developing software and then no one wants to use it. So we took a lot of time, 2 years of research, making sure there is a product market fit, rolling out the beta, testing site, really kind of making sure that we reiterate on the software to make sure people are using it and liking it, and then really listening to the customer and making sure that their feedback gets influenced into the product because ultimately they're the ones that are using it. So if the customers aren't going to use it, it doesn't make sense to spend money on it. And we have a very low burn rate. It's basically all sales, marketing, development right now. But yeah, it is a balancing act, and I don't think it's a perfect process, but we've been trying our best to really get it to that point. That's a good question. Thank you.
All right, for the final question, what can we as a community do to help you?
Besides sales and investing, I think that we could use some people that are passionate about culture to talk to and just kind of get feedback from. So if anyone's a culture geek like myself or just a startup junkie, I'd love to talk to you more. I'll be here for the rest of the week, and I've loved getting connected so far to the KC startup scene. So anyone that wants to grab coffee or beer or barbecue, I'll be getting that a lot this week. So please reach out, and would love to just learn more about different startups in the community here.
Awesome, thank you. Let's give him a round. All right, it's time for Mug Club. So go ahead and raise your hand if you've been here 10 or more times. Put down your hand if you've received a mug.
I've got one
Aw.
in the back here. All right, sir, could you please stand up, tell us your name, and tell us why you come to 1 Million Cups?
Joe Alberti. It's just a hopeful place to be and easy place to talk to people. I don't really have a big entrepreneurial idea yet, but I'm hoping to find one. Thanks.
Awesome, thanks for coming.
For being here.
Appreciate it. All right, without further ado, please help me give a warm welcome to Bess with Box Truck Barber.
Make sure my microphone's on. My name is Bess Lamori, and my business is Box Truck Barber. It's a mobile haircut truck that goes around Kansas City on a set schedule and offers quick, convenient, top-notch haircuts to busy people during their workday. And I should start out by telling you that I personally do not cut hair. My background is in graphic design, and I was working at Hallmark Cards, where my husband also works, and we were having lunch in the cafeteria overlooking the Big Circle Drive, and my husband was complaining about having to get a haircut. And I looked out and I thought, wouldn't it be great if there was a little truck that would pull up and you could run out while you're at work and get a haircut? And then I thought, why isn't there a little haircut truck? So I got really excited about the idea and I started researching it, and it turns out it does exist, it's just not in Kansas City. So I couldn't let go of the idea, and at the end of 2016, I quit my job, and I spent the next year building the brand and researching the business and getting the truck built out. And at First Fridays this past March, on March 2nd, we cut our first head of hair in the truck. The truck is fairly simple. There's 2 styling stations. We have a hand washing sink in the middle. We have a shampoo bowl on board, but we keep it tucked away because we basically just do spray bottle and dry haircuts. There's a bathroom because we have to adhere to the same standards and codes that a brick and mortar salon or barbershop has to adhere to with the State Board of Cosmetology. And so that's the truck. I'm the truck driver and the janitor and the appointment scheduler and the receptionist and all the other parts except for the haircutting. So where does the truck go? We have a Monday through Friday schedule. Mondays we like to keep open for our partnerships. We've been out to Burns and McDonnell and cut hair for employees out there. The second Monday of every month we go to the Ronald McDonald House and we cut hair for the families that are staying there. And I'm also in talks with the daycare to line up haircuts for the kids so their busy parents at work don't have to deal with that in the evening or the weekend. On Tuesday, we go downtown to the financial district. On Wednesday, we're at the Creamery building in the Crossroads at 2100 Central. Thursday, we're up by the Plaza Library at 49th and Main. And Fridays, we are back at the Crossroads by 18th and Walnut. And if your brain hasn't already started thinking, you're probably doing that now, like, hey, what about weddings? What about prom? What about homecoming? What about firehouses and police stations and festivals like Boulevardia? And First Fridays and Saturdays in the West Bottoms and back to school events and soccer fields on Saturdays and food truck festivals, hospitals, elder care, nursing homes, homeless events. The list goes on and on and on. The potential for this truck is unlimited, which is really exciting, but there's realities of the business. In theory, it's all hunky-dory, and then you get into the nitty-gritty of the day-to-day. And who knew that opening a haircut truck without knowing how to cut hair would be difficult? Oh, I mean, it's a no-duh thing once you get out on the road. But because I don't cut hair, I am looking to hire experienced, dependable, reliable barbers and stylists. And it turns out if you're an experienced, dependable, reliable stylist or barber, you're probably running your own business and maintaining your own clients and building your clientele. So I struggle there. I struggle getting in touch with people who have actually applied for a job with Box Truck Barber. Once I do the few dozen phone interviews I've done, the majority of the people cancel before their in-person interview. I've had the truck closed because I had a stylist find a full-time job. Another one had emergency surgery. We've had a broken car. We've had no childcare. We've had a broken foot. And I actually had one guy on his first day not show up because he ended up in jail. So that was really disappointing for me, but probably more so for him. Yeah. Business partnerships, there isn't really a sense of urgency for companies to say, yeah, bring your truck, let's cut some hair, because it's unproven and it's unknown. It's taken me a little bit longer to get people to say yes. Parking and locations, I need a level surface. I need a spot big enough for a 28-foot truck and preferably not have to parallel park into it. And when you're talking about areas with big office buildings and lots of foot traffic, those spaces are few and far between. Customers, I am targeting somebody who typically goes to like a Great Clips or Sport Clips and doesn't have a relationship with a stylist. They just need a haircut now. So I'm trying to get those people to get on the truck, which they do, and then to develop a brand preference and keep coming back to Box Truck Barber when they aren't used to developing a relationship with one set stylist. The weather, we had the second coldest April in the history of Kansas City. So that was a real bummer. It was not fun sitting in the truck trying to keep it warm, and there was very little foot traffic out and about looking for haircuts. So April was tough, and then the charitable component, I mentioned that we go to the Ronald McDonald House and cut hair for the family staying there, which is something right away initially I contacted them because I knew I wanted this truck to have a charitable component. But I also really like their parking lot. It's at 25th and Cherry. It's nice, it's big, it's level. And so I thought we could cut hair for the families, then open it up for appointments also. And it turned out, it was obvious that first day that there's a huge need here, and we filled up every appointment with families, and we even stayed later. So that was a part that I'm donating the truck, but I haven't asked my employee to donate their time, so I still need to compensate her for the commission of that high volume of haircuts we did that day. And then I also like to include the gratuity that she would have received. So at this point, it's a pretty big financial strain on a new business like myself. But wait, I'm an optimistic person, and we can look at all of these kind of glass half full. So staffing, I currently have 2 great people who are experienced and reliable and dependable working on the truck, and I just hired another person yesterday. Business partnerships, Barkley Ad Agency was one of the first ones who said, yes, we have a visitor parking lot, bring your truck and park. So that was awesome. Burns & McDonnell has had us come out, so that's growing. Parking and locations, I tend to hang out in 15-minute parking spots and loading zones, and I've had police officers on board that are like, this is awesome, good for you. So far I haven't really had any problem being parked illegally downtown or anywhere else that I put the truck. I have had repeat customers come on, and I've been really surprised. I'd say about a fourth of our clientele are women, people who have short hair, or they're just looking for a quick trim or haircut. So that's been surprising, and the weather's warming up. We've been able to keep the truck cool in the 85-degree hot and humid day, so that's promising. And then the charitable component, looking for sponsorships. I haven't had a company yet say yes, but I did have a really good friend organize her coworkers, and Scott Rice Office Works, their employees put together their money and sponsored the haircuts last Monday. So that's coming along, and I have some good leads for some other sponsorships to give those companies the credit for the haircuts that happened that day. And so that is Box Truck Barber in a nutshell. We're less than 3 months old. We've gotten great press. The newspaper's been out, almost all of the TV stations. So it's really promising, and I'm excited to see what the future holds.
We're going to go ahead and turn it over to our experts.
Congratulations. That's pretty awesome. I think it's pretty cool that you're doing a barbering truck in Kansas City. They do exist, but Kansas City does need one. So my question is, would go back to some of your staffing. Is there a way that you could work with other local barber shops and salons when their foot traffic is low to take advantage of their staff to take advantage of a different part of town that they're not in?
It's a wonderful idea, and I have been in contact with some barbers and stylists, and then even thinking about sharing an employee. We aren't open on Saturday, and maybe there's a salon that has a higher volume of customers on Saturday, so we could share. I'm part-time, maybe they have a part-time need, and we could make a full-time job out of it, so yes.
So a suggestion, look at a company called ShareSpace, a fun startup that shares salon seats throughout the city.
Okay.
And they're currently here in Kansas City. And that
Share
would-
space or sheer space?
Sheer space.
Like shears.
Yeah, like
Okay,
shears in
good.
space. And then my other question is, how do you, or your compensation plan work with your barbers and stylists?
I am a new business, and so we have some days where we do 1 or 2 haircuts, and we have other days that we have a full schedule. And so I guarantee a minimum hourly rate and then do commission with my stylist. So on the busier days, they make more money. They get to keep all the tips and all the gratuity.
Fantastic presentation.
Yeah.
You're a natural.
Thanks.
So unfortunately, I don't think I'd make a very good client.
We could buzz you. We could.
Not much to style here. But so I love the genesis of the idea, right? You and your husband, you're looking, hey, why doesn't this exist? You know, as entrepreneurs, one of the struggles is to continue the journey, especially when times are tough and you get a year into it, 2 years into it. And what a lot of entrepreneurs rely on is their passion for solving the problem. Right? It's been something they've wanted to do for years, and they're like, finally, I'm going for it. This feels a little like off-the-cuff idea that you and your husband had, but you went for it, and I love it. It's awesome. Is there a passion here? What is the desire to solve this thing?
There is. I think there's a need. I think there's a market out there of somebody who doesn't have a relationship with a stylist, and haircuts happen every day. And so I think there's a market that's looking for something different. I think this industry hasn't necessarily gone mobile yet, and we're turning into a mobile economy. So I think the opportunity's there, and I think that's where my passion lies. And the more I'm on the truck and the more I learn about it, I'm gonna go to hair school. And I'm gonna learn how to cut hair because I think it'll be easier to investigate and try new areas when I don't have to bring another person along with me. I can park the truck, see what happens, and continue on, so.
And then my next question is kind of on the financials.
Yeah.
So as you say, you kind of run into difficult, moments. Is this thing sustainable? Like, how many haircuts do you have to give to keep the the truck going?
Right now I'm running only 1 chair. I have the ability to have 2 chairs going, but it's new and the weather's finally getting nice, and so there's room for growth with the revenue coming in. And I think it's helped that I had a career before this. My husband's gainfully employed, so I'm not making our mortgage payment with the truck, which is really nice, and so there is a little bit of a runway. It's a struggle, but yeah, keeping it going and just solving the problem.
As long as you're trending upward, right? You
Yes.
might have hills and valleys.
There's some
but
days where I'm like, what am I doing? But I think every entrepreneur has that. And then there's other days where I'm like, yes, this does work. I'm proving it. We did 10 haircuts. Yes. And people are lining up and taking pictures. And there's definitely support in Kansas City. People see it and they're like, what? And they get on the truck. And I think they're delighted. The inside of the truck doesn't look like what you would expect. So I think being just out on the road, I had to close for a week 3 weeks actually, while I was staffing back up. And so just keeping that momentum going, keeping my staff, we're doing some continuing education and making sure that we're giving great haircuts and just making sure that we're on the road consistently so people can start relying on us.
And just one suggestion, you mentioned social media. I could easily see some sort of hashtag trending thing where when people get their cut, they post it on social media with a hashtag, you put it on the side of your truck, check out the cuts that people are getting.
Box
and
Truck
then,
Barber.
Yeah, there you
Yes.
go. Or share your cut or something, whatever it is.
Yeah, good.
I have
All right.
I was going to say, I have a quick 2-part question for you. How are you going to use software, or how are you going to use software to leverage this to make your job 10 times easier? And
For
then
scheduling haircuts?
for the scheduling, taking over that whole mass, this estimated $10 billion market just in the scheduling component alone.
Yes.
But then on the other side, I went through your website. So it's for like someone like me with my typical haircut.
Schedule your appointment too. I saw that.
I'm going to come down and
Thank you.
test it out.
Yes,
I'm
thank
going to see if I could trust your barbers to actually cut my hair.
Yeah.
I have a long-standing relationship, and I don't trust a lot of people cutting my hair. But on the opposite side of this cultural piece, how do you plan to scale this out into other markets, other types? So, for instance, like a blow-dry bar, or going into hair extensions, something that you might be sitting there longer, but that usually has a higher profit margin, higher yield piece to it. So could you speak on your scale side and where you are going?
Scheduling, there's a guy in San Diego that started a fleet of Airstreams that his background is actually in software development. So he created a program to help you be able to have a mobile truck that moves around, have people schedule appointments. At this point, it's out of my budget. And so I am kind of tricking a system called Booker. They have group of people that help you get everything set up for your business. So instead of booking your location, it looks like you're booking your location on our website, but you're actually booking a service that has been locked down to a specific day, and I just name it the location. So using software that currently exists that I can kind of trick into being used for the needs that we have. I would say 1/4 of our appointments are booked ahead of time, and the rest are walk-ups. People don't know about it, so they come up and they see it, and they get a haircut. So that part for scheduling, there's options out there that once this is awesome and creating a whole bunch of money, then yes, but for the time being, using something that already exists. And then the other part of your question was? Scaling into other things. Yeah, right now, I think haircuts, I see the problem there. I worked at Hallmark where it takes you longer to get from your desk to your car, get your car out of the parking garage, get on the street, go to your haircut. Your haircut takes 15 minutes. You get back in your car, you're like, there's a problem there that I'm solving for a market that I see the need, where at this point, I've heard of people asking for like, what if you do nails or extensions or something like that, but right now I'm really excited about trying to solve this and figure out what the best locations are and who the clientele are and getting the haircut portion of it going.
We're going to turn it over to you guys for questions. Get those hands up. I will get us started. Bess, you have me worried. You have me worried that our highest potential, highest impact entrepreneurs are gainfully employed by Kansas City corporations. Having made this journey from full-time job to entrepreneurship, do you have a drive to like encourage other people who are living the corporate lifestyle to do the same? Do you think it should be incentivized? What's your thoughts having lived it?
Yeah, I think there's a risk involved in leaving your cushy job. I think it's a personal thing that you could, I think people know opportunities are out there and you sort of have to know what your idea is to give up all the benefits that come with working for a big corporation. So I think I would love to say like, do it, you should do it, this is awesome, but it's actually really scary and it's a big risk. And I think if you don't personally have that drive inside of you, anybody could encourage you and you won't necessarily take that leap because there are no guarantees. Yay!
I've got a question for you in the center.
Hi, I really enjoyed the presentation. I'm a person who actually cuts my own hair because for the very reason that you opened the business, that it took longer to get to the place to get your hair cut than it took for me just to run in there and take and just take care of business. So if it looks bad, it's my fault. The question I have is in regards to finding help, and especially for your charity events. Have you ever gone after or have thought about targeting maybe churches and folks that maybe were retired stylists that might have an interest in helping out with that?
I would like to reach out and have people donate their time or even have my stylist or barber donate their time. At this point, this early on, it has been such a struggle to get steady, reliable, experienced, good people that I don't necessarily want to rock the boat at this point. And so I'm happy to pay my person to come and cut hair so that way she can continue to have an income from Box Truck Barber and I don't take that away from her for that day that the service is donated. But yes, I think there's an opportunity also to take it for a Saturday to Super Saturday where they're serving hot soup to the homeless and you could get a whole group of stylists there to cut, each take an hour or something like that. So yes, definitely.
Question in the center.
Okay.
I love this, and I love your enthusiasm and the idea, and I have some connections for you. I'll talk to you later. I know the photo bus people. I know lots of stylists around, and some of the places where they go to hire new people, they're the only ones there. So there are things there. Having had a crackhead as a hairstylist for a while, who did great hair but literally disappeared, I think it's kind of ironic that you've got the truck so that, maybe when they disappear, they'll get in the truck. But so is it my understanding that because you are not a stylist and as the other gentleman said, people don't want to, my mom taught us, don't ever put your money in a bank that has wheels, when wait till the building's built.
Yeah.
So are you, with the children, and are you primarily focused, I think you said, with men and then people with short hair? So it's for the time, and is that so that you have a greater possible pool of eligible stylists? Is it a time factor, or is it so that you can maintain quality, because you'll have to have that.
Yes, the quality. I've developed a saying where a no haircut is better than a bad haircut. So I think it's better to have experienced people cutting the hair. The men's hair, it's all about solving the problem, so that's why it's focused mostly on men's short hair, because I think that there's a need out there for that. And then I'm finding that there's certain stylists that really enjoy men's haircuts, and there's stylists who don't, or they want to color, and we're not doing coloring or anything at this point in the truck. So finding the talent that wants to do that sort of thing, and then keeping it so that it's quick and convenient. The whole concept of the truck is that you can get in and out in roughly 25 minutes.
I've got a question
Yes.
on your right.
Nice presentation. I've seen the truck, and I'm glad to hear that you have a schedule, that you're being at certain places, and someone who works out of WeWork, I'll probably be coming to see you on Friday. What are your hours, and what are your prices? And then a quick idea, have you thought about asking for donations of people that are getting the haircuts to help out on the altruistic
Actually,
side?
yeah, my good friend that organized her coworkers, that's also a thought of, hey, while you're paying for your haircut, would you like to pay for a kid's cut at Ronald McDonald House? So yes. Hours are Monday through Friday, 10 to 3. When I first opened, we were 10 to 4, but that last hour was kind of dragging, and I'm noticing that there are more people out and about on the street during lunchtime. And so I think people who are salaried or at WeWork and entrepreneurs can kind of flex their schedule and get a haircut whenever they want. But for visibility of the truck, having it out during lunchtime has worked really well for us. Haircuts, a standard haircut's $30. We do buzz cuts for $20. You can get a bang trim for $10. A beard trim is $15. If you add the beard trim onto your haircut, it's only $10. So we're about $2 more than the national average for a haircut. And so I think you pay for the convenience for it being $30. That's where we're at, pricing.
I'm thinking the same thing a lot of people in the room are thinking, which is like, she does entrepreneur good.
Oh, yeah. I cry a lot. Just kidding.
So do I. So now that you're actually running the business, how do you keep the balance between working in your business and working on your business? Our assumption is you're doing a good job of that. What does that process actually look like?
I would say most of my focus is on hiring people, hiring good people, connecting with other stylists and barbers. One of them's here. He's going to do some continuing ed for my stylist, which I'm really excited about. So making sure that the truck is staffed up with the best talent I can have. When that's happening, then I can be like, how can we grow? Where are some new spots? What companies haven't responded to me lately? And start doing that part of it. But there's a lot of days that I'm in the nitty-gritty and just trying to keep it staffed up so haircuts can happen.
Yeah. So to nerd out for a second, that like you're looking at companies who haven't reached out. Like, how are you actually keeping track of that? Is that just like a Google document? Like,
I have a spreadsheet that I usually go after companies that I have friends at, so I can contact my friend to say, who's the person in HR? And so, or sometimes my friend's high enough up that they can actually start getting it to happen, but it hasn't actually happened. And I'm learning that bigger companies like Hallmark, which was my whole inspiration for this, is almost too large of a company and has too many legal risks and kind of a wall around it. So going after mid-sized companies, just keeping a Google spreadsheet, bothering my friends a lot is what it is, and just following up. I've worked in jobs where I've had to do that. I was a recruiter at Hallmark, so you're keeping track of candidates and trying to keep the pipeline filled with people to come and work, and so it's kind of that same skill set.
Another question over here.
So I'm fascinated by this, and I think I'm your target client as somebody that hates to go and sit down and drive somewhere and take time out of my day. So this is really cool. But I'm really interested into like what you've had to put into it, like financially, how much did a truck cost like that? How long do you think it takes to break even? And then what would success look like, financially from like a monthly standpoint? Like what do you hope to generate out of this and maybe get a second truck, or kind of what does growth look like?
I got a lot of quotes as I was building this out, talked to the big food truck builder around Kansas City and kind of the mom and pop shop food truck builders, but ultimately I'm not building a food truck. I really just needed like a nice sort of retail space inside of a truck. And so the quotes were anywhere from, depending on how much you want to spend on the truck, to what materials you want inside, from like $25,000, you could spend $150,000. I have a pretty massive generator on the back of it, because if you have 2 hair dryers going at once, that costs more. So it's all just the decisions that you make that lead up to whatever the final cost of it is. When I started and I ran all the numbers and I'm like, all right, if we do this many haircuts a day, I'll cover the cost of the expense for the day, and I'll be able, over the course of 3 to 5 years, start paying us back for the cost of the truck. Right now, I'm like hovering around break even for keeping the truck on the road. It depends on how busy the day is, or if I end up closed because my barber has a broken foot, I don't make any revenue, and I still have to pay for truck storage and my software and all the parts and pieces that go into this. Success would be doing better than breaking even, being able to pay us back for the money that we spent building the truck. I would love for each day to have the appointments booked and to show up and knock out the haircuts. And at that point, then it would be researching, does Kansas City need another truck? Right now, it's only licensed in Missouri. If I went on the Kansas side, I'd have to build a whole different truck for their regulations. Does the Kansas side need one? Is my theory that just downtown urban areas make sense? Is there a need for this out in suburbia? I have no idea. I think figuring out, do I grow in Kansas City, or do I start looking at other areas of the United States where it doesn't get too cold in the winter and it's not too hot in the summer, and you can start putting trucks in other markets?
I've got a question for you in the back.
I just wondered if you have started partnering with local schools or daycare facilities. You mentioned Burns and McDonald, like that's right around the corner from our preschool. This would be very, very convenient for my parents. Like they would love something like this. So I was wondering if you started partnering with smaller entities versus going for these giants.
I do have a daycare that it's in the works. I'd like to test it once before I start, because I think that's another path this truck could go. You could create a kid's truck, you could just hit daycares and schools. We parked outside of Ruby Jean's Juicery at 30th and Truce, and the Kansas City Public Schools has their offices right there, so I went over and met those people and gave them the information, and that's where the idea of doing back to school events and parking and being able to give quick, convenient haircuts to kids that are going back to school, or even while they're in school, if that turns out to be successful, yes.
Question on your left.
Hi, congratulations, by the way. So my sister-in-law is a hairstylist, and she's had customers for decades at this point. So my question is how are you dealing with, or how do you propose to deal with the idea that your hairstylist has customers or box truck has customers?
I have a stylist right now who works for me on Wednesdays, and we don't mix drinks. Her clients are her clients, and the people who get into the Box Truck Barber are Box Truck Barber clients, and we keep it separate. She doesn't want to take those clients. I feel like that client anyway, even if she said, here's my business card, they're doing it based on location and convenience, so where she has her salon might not work for them. And then when she's on the truck, she doesn't schedule her clients for that day. So she's able to shift her schedule to take care of the people on her days that she's at her chair. Keep it separate. I do, though, have someone working for me that was doing a salon out of her house, and she was done with that. She didn't want to do it anymore, and she's trying to transition those people to come on the truck. So she doesn't mind giving those clients to Box Truck Barber because she doesn't want to do it out of her home anymore.
That's our final question. What can we as a community do to help you?
So glad you asked. Do you know any good barbers or stylists that are experienced, dependable, reliable? Talk to me, shoot me an email, hello@boxtruckbarber.com. Do you want to sponsor haircuts? It's a really kind of low cost of entry for the benefit of it. We were just there last Monday, and there was a mom on the truck with her mom, and the grandma said, this is the most fun that we've had in a really long time. So it's moments like that it's like that's the right thing to do, is to keep going there. And then follow us on social media, schedule an appointment, come check out the truck. If you see it on the street, like many of you have, just hop in, say hi. You don't have to get your hair cut, just I'd like to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us. Our entrepreneurs are going to be hanging out. We, the organizers, are going to be hanging out. Please come connect with us. That is why we are here. We will see you next Tuesday evening at the Innovation Exchange event. The details are up on the slide. And then we'll see you next Wednesday morning right back here at 1 Million Cups for presentations from Equinox and Solstice Outdoor Co. and Glasswater Lead-Free Lures. Have a great Wednesday, guys. Thank you so much.